house here in Columbus. We have 3 kids. By the way, February 24th will be 26 years. We got married in 1990. Getting married on a 0, it makes it really easy. It's also on the inside of this ring. 3 kids. Sloan, our oldest is a girl, Harrison and Gabe. Girl, boy, boy. Born in 95, 97, and 99. I actually put that on a slide. It kind of says, here's your instructor. If you put the year they're born, you don't have to keep updating it for age. Yeah. So right now they're
2018 and 16.
Yep. So Sloan's at Seton Hall in Southwards, New Jersey. Harrison is about to graduate Columbus North and go to IU. And then we have a sophomore at Columbus North, and he hasn't decided where he's going yet. So me and Rebecca and 3 kids and the dog, and we used to live out in Tipton. Got tired of driving to work all the time, into the city all the time. And I know that's a short commute, but so we live right by St. B's now. We're about a 2-block walk from St. B's. The kids can walk to the high school and tennis matches. So I work at Cummins. I'm an engineer by training from Purdue and MIT. And Cummins for the last 9 years.
He left out that we also are proud of actually sugar gliders that were my daughter's confirmation present.
Raise your hand if you don't know what a sugar glider is.
Completely wooded area, I like that.
It's about the size of a chipmunk. They're from Australia. They're really, they like to fly in squirrels, and they kind of got the web. And because they're nocturnal, they have really big eyes, so they're really cute. Google sugar glider, and it's more on the background and like a big bird cage.
One of the table chairs.
Yeah.
And you said that.
Oh.
They also have
I remember
12-year-old standard poodle pepper. So I'm very attached to him. It's like remember the bell. It's like remember the So we've been parishioners here since, as Mike said, since 1994. We started, like they were very young, we wanted to join the parish and get active in the parish. And really very soon after we joined, we started, one of the ministries we got involved with was the Premier Council. And probably remains my favorite ministry of all the ministries I'm involved in, because there's nothing more fun than working with a young couple who's getting ready, to make the sacrament. So that's something that's really near and dear to our heart. We've been doing it now for 20 years. So yes, I really like that. I too work at Cummins, so I've been there a little bit longer than Mike. I've been there, I started in 1994, so more than 20 years, but I took about 4 years off when the kids were little to stay home full time. And so, according to them, I have 20 years, but it's really more than 20 years.
I didn't love it. I love it on that link. I'll tell you what.
So, with my job, I do get on a lot. I do a lot of international travel, so I'm away quite a bit. So it helps to have a really great partner at home. And the boys are teenagers now, and they're pretty self-sufficient. So that's us. Is that everything? I might add. Can I add the? Can I add the story about you becoming Catholic, which is quite fun? So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Mike becoming Catholic, because it involves the Shanks
Very
farm,
artistic,
which is quite fun.
creative.
So Mike and I, Alberta Retreat House used to be where they did a lot of the Tobit weekends.
I just wanted
And
to
the Tobit weekend,
There you go.
is part of the premarital counseling that the church offers. And so it's a weekend away with you and your
They like a lot of that, a lot of work.
And it's just very spiritual. It's very reflective. You spend a little time on your own and a little time together. Well, Mike and I went to Alberta Retreat House back in 1989, and the priest that we had was extremely progressive. And when it was time for communion, he said, we welcome everyone to take communion, as long as you believe what we believe. And he kind of talked about, that it truly becomes the body and of Christ. And so there were several fiancés, as you might guess, who were Catholic, who then started taking communion. So fast forward how many years it would have been? It would have been about 7 years. Fast forward about 7 years. Mike's doing something in the church, some social event in the church. Very, very, very active. He was always very active, even though he wasn't Catholic. He always took communion, right? So most people just had no idea that my was a Catholic. And so Kathy walks up to him one day and she goes, Mom,
When they met,
like she
he
does.
lived, you know, like going on 46.
When did you become Catholic?
49, 46.
And Mike said,
And you get 50 years old. And there's
well, how would you like to keep something like that? And the next thing I know, Mike's in RCIA 3 weeks before he's provisional.
I took a short course.
He definitely ended up taking RCIA.
So what do I need to do? She said, well, you know, I know you're really active, and I know
Well, you know,
you're
anything.
of faith.
You know, he
She
went to
said, you
church.
can just jump in.
Yeah, he went to church every single week. We were already both really active. But, it was just pretty funny because most people think like, you know, it's a cradle Catholic. So he really didn't do that. You know, I remember when
This is 1900.
I remember.
Why is Mike doing RCIA? But he is.
She says it
Yeah.
is
So that's kind of us.
3 bedroom, 2 baths.
Should we talk about what you've read?
3
No, so I thought you had a really good, I thought you had a really good
I'm kind of low tech, but she's a little more high tech. All right, sorry about that. It was really funny. When I got to the list of everyday activities, I wrote down my list and I thought, oh, I better add tweeting, texting, surfing, because mine did not include any of that. I'm probably the only one here without a Facebook account, all right? Somebody else? I see. I know.
We're kind of old.
I'll ride my dinosaur home, okay? You know, so I'm going to start with you with your scriptures.
Sounds fair to me.
They're not gospels.
And have we talked about the
That's
next
what's
one? Okay. No, it's not.
It's not about marriage, and even though we are premarital counselors, it's
Although
just,
we can answer questions about that.
no, we just thought it would be good. How do you live your faith in your everyday life?
I call it faith in action.
I gotta get Mount Liberty out of my head, but I should.
Okay, I'm going with the title I gave Allie, and she put it in the letter. How do you live your faith? How do you live your faith in your everyday life?
I would love to know. I mean, if it falls through.
So, just a few verses. Ephesians 5:1. So be imitators of God as beloved children and live in love. Okay, live in love. Ephesians 2:10.
Yeah.
You hear me back there, okay? All right. It's almost never a problem to hear the church. Ephesians 2:10. For we are His handiwork, created in Christ Jesus for the good works that God has prepared in advance that we should live
Yeah, I
in.
never knew the name.
So live in love,
We
live
have
the good
a few more
works that
napkins
God has
there. We get a
prepared.
second. Mike, you need silverware. I'm not sure.
And I really think this one kind of tees up the top here, James 2:17. And a lot of you probably know this one. So also, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. Apparently, you do not have beer, you are dead. I saw you waving the bartender in the middle of scripture.
It's
all right.
The option.
If it does not have works, it's dead. So, you know, and that's what I want to talk about. I think we wanted to talk about is how do you live your faith in your everyday life, not just on Sunday or
And someone
Saturday.
doesn't know that they fall for whatever, right?
So I've got a few questions, and I'll throw them out, but you think about them for a minute, and then it's not going to just be one way. I'd like to hear your answers. So, what are your priorities in life, or maybe a better way to put it is, who or what has the most authority in your life? So think about your country.
Oh, way back.
Your country asks you to do something, okay? Excuse me. She's like over here. She's not going to. She's not going to give me a piece until she gets her second beer. That's why I'm waving down.
That's pretty far out from most people. Not just say.
Your country,
Kind of embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie.
which is embarrassing.
Anyway,
It's all right. You say your report. Your company. For a few of us, 4 of us, I think here work at Cummins, but your company, your family, your God, yourself. So, God, yourself, your company, your family, your country. Think about, kind of put those in order. You know, if there was a push between any two of those, where your family wanted to do something against what your country wanted to do, or if you wanted to do something for your family, which way would you go? Think about where you would prioritize those things. Is my point clear? I may not be clear. Think about that. And then I'm going to give you 2 minutes. So country, company, yourself, your family, God. Are you? All right, Annie.
So,
I was gonna say, those blur, don't they?
Family and Or Vora, I don't know how you want to call it, sorry. Where would you put those? So, which would be the higher authority in your life, and kind of put them in order? Yourself, your family, or things for your family, your company, your country, or God?
No, he just. Decided what?
Yeah, I think that'd be the same thing for
I don't know. He was so happy, he was so happy.
Chris. I'll let you think about it, Laura. Got an answer?
Honestly, probably family,
I always feel like I'm joking around.
country, faith, me, company.
Okay.
So Mikey, you go back.
Anybody else?
Family.
So you can do any house up. Even if it's not this, you can do a house up like that.
You got 5 to choose from.
Yeah, well, like,
But I don't know who
my
gave it to
mom's like
them.
that. It's been transferred over to ownership.
The local and the house.
Okay.
She would be.
While she's going through this change.
I just wondered if I knew what was going on, if they knew they were just. And I probably would know whether they.
Anybody else want to?
No.
Well, you can just ask her if they.
It kind of leads into the topic. That's why I just wanted to ask. It's funny, I don't know when I first started thinking about that. It was years ago. And I just started thinking, okay, if my country asked me to do something that contradicted with my faith, what would I do?
What are you saying?
And you know, if you take Quakers or a few other groups, they're conscientious objectors. They would not, back in the draft, I'm old enough to remember when we still drafted
I
people.
just text her. I can't
They,
even-
they wouldn't go fight because it was against their faith. Okay.
I think you need to be.
But I
So,
think,
go ahead.
can I talk about that? Yeah. So what I think is kind of
I just need to work my calculator.
a thought to have about this, and I remember when we were at a church in Oregon, I was going to visit my best friend, and their minister talked, and you remember we talked about money?
That was when they were still in St. Louis, but it was a great talk.
It was a great talk, and he talked
It was
about.
their stewardship week.
Yeah, and my
The
friend.
preacher always gets up front and gives a sermon about giving money.
Yeah, and my friend was mortified that we were there to teach. You know, she's like, oh, I'll teach. And we had this wonderful minister they wanted us to hear, and it ended up being, their stewardship week. But he gave a really, I think, powerful talk about how your money follows. Heart follows.
Sometimes your heart follows the money.
Follows money, and sometimes your money follows your heart. But the point was that where you spend your time and where you spend your money are really kind of dictate your priorities to some extent.
His intro was actually funny. He said, how many of you sent a kid to a college
Have you
that you never thought about? So we've only sent one so far. We sent her to Seton Hall. If you're my
We
age,
own several Seton Hall sweatshirts, and we've never heard of it before.
if you're my age, you remember when they were actually a really good basketball program. But at any rate, he said, how many of you sent your kid to a college you never thought about? But now you're big fans. You got the sweatshirts, you watch the games and all that. He said his point is, you sent a lot of money to that institution, and now you're emotionally attached. So, and his point to church giving was, if you don't yet feel like you're there giving whatever amount, he said, take that leap of faith. Let the money lead and then your heart will follow. It was quite interesting.
But I think it's, it's something you can think about when you think about, this order here, right? Where do you spend your time? And how do you spend your time?
And she sleeps.
Is your time spent on
very
yourself?
well.
Is your time spent with the family and the people you love? Or is your time spent with your faith and things, for your church? And it's not judging, it's just that can really be an indicator. And I know, I would love to be able to say that, faith and family, then country, then self, and company come first. It's almost all my time. Comments gets almost all my time. I was literally gone for 5 days, was home 24 hours, and then was back, was down in Nashville, Tennessee for the next, 2 days. So, in a 10-day stretch, I'll sleep in my bed one night. So, I think we have to be, that's when we have to make sure that we're also living our faith at work. So I guess that would be where I would say, my faith in action comes in. If my company is going to take this much of my time, how do I make sure
descriptions that come to mind.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's okay. Look like with all the.
And I like more of the collaboration type.
Okay.
That's where I live.
All right. You gotta give us your name, Jake. Aaron? Okay. Good deal. I'm Mike.
I'm Rebecca.
You're either with us or you're eating your dinner in a funny way. All right.
There's a spot open here if you feel more comfortable. Oh, never mind, sorry.
Can't take it.
I was trying to get in front of the camera, sorry. Yep, I know. We're 8 a.m. Second rowers.
All right, Laura, back to you. How are some ways you identify yourself? What do you think of yourself?
That's not really listening, you got one. They're brothers. You realize that? They are. We did it all the time. I used to.
Tell me what your job was most of the time. I think a lot of us would do that, you know. I'm a teacher, I'm an engineer, I'm, a social worker. I think that's something we tend to identify ourselves with. We're very comfortable with that, right?
Alan, how do you identify yourself?
We're talking about jobs, since I live in different mountains. It's usually pretty quick when we like,
You're Catholic. Yeah, they like make that late cream with them.
but I know a small business owner and that have dogs, usually comes out pretty quick.
Okay, dog owner, I didn't put it down. Dog owner.
And I'm vegetarian,
We have to have a personal life settles down. I thought you coached something.
I think that's a good, actually, that's a good point. It does sometimes tend to be a situation, right? How you might identify yourself at work might be different than how you identify yourself in a social setting.
So one of the things is part of living your faith in your everyday life. While I do appreciate you, sometimes you wouldn't say that's the first thing about you, but I do hope that when you're outside of the church environment, you don't mind talking about your faith. And I think that's something that we do. It just comes up. People love to talk politics. And by the way, if you talk about the things that can be controversial, start talking about religion, start talking about politics, and you can get friction. But if I'm talking to somebody about current events or politics, which are current events right now, my faith has a bearing on it. I bring it up. If somebody says, hey, blah, 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 what's your position on capital punishment? I tell them, I said, I used to be in favor of it, but I'm Catholic, and the Catholic Church has just this really simple policies on policy, really simple idea that all life is sacred. All life is sacred, so I just can't support it anymore. But I don't hesitate to bring up, that's just part of my faith. So, I think I know as I get older, and you see some people get really old and they say inappropriate things. As I get older, I'm far more comfortable just saying things about who I am and you're confident in it, and you're always polite and respectful. You don't want to put up barriers, but just don't hesitate to bring up the fact. And let me ask you that: do you ever feel a little shy or awkward or reluctant to bring up the fact that you're Christian or Catholic? I'm just curious.
I noticed you wore that.
I get asked a lot what it means, and I think, it's a tool to evangelize. So,
Yep.
Yep.
I think that it does sometimes feel very comfortable, but, that's the way to reach out to the
And I was gonna say, very simple, I wear a cross. I always have a cross on. I probably wore this, gosh, I got it when we lived in the UK, so I've had it since like 2006.
It's like TJ Maxx, $12.95.
But I had it
I'm gonna
since
rat her out right now.
2006, and I'm quite fortunate. I'm in a leadership position at Cummins, and I don't hesitate to talk about my faith, because part of what I say is, if I want to be authentic, then you need to know who the whole me is. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a mother, I'm an aunt, I'm a wife.
I was wondering when that was going to come. You see where okay, did you guys say, hit on the list?
so I share with them what my faith is, and some of the issues that I do in my church and some of our ministries. But I find, I'm not preaching, I'm not trying to convert anyone. What I find is after those events, people want to come up to me and talk about it. People want to, where do you go to church? They really do. They really want to know more. And so it sort of opens that door. And I think that's something that in our everyday, that's why I call it faith in action, because I think some of us are really uncomfortable evangelizing or what we think is evangelizing, but wearing that, wearing this, talking in an offensive, where we go out for dinner, we pray pretty loudly, wherever we are. If we were here to see me, holies, it doesn't matter. It's a I love it. Hold hands, and at the end of the day, we add some extras to the normal Catholic prayer. So there's also this part of that Catholic prayer that says, may the souls of the faithfully departed, to the mercy of God, rest in peace, amen. So that's when I pray for the deceased loved ones. So I elongated a little bit by adding that. And then, Pope Francis, when he became Pope, asked us all to pray for him. So at the end of our prayer, we also do a Go Francis prayer. So the whole family, does that. And we do that everywhere we are. Now, it doesn't happen every day, it doesn't happen every month, but I bet you once or twice a year, someone will come to us and make a comment, or,
And not Chris.
Sometimes it's very positive, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I was doing that, or I'm gonna try doing that.
I usually say hello.
That's a really good idea. To your point about, it's a subtle way to open the door for you make yourself available with your faith. People will often come to you and ask questions. And so I think that's a really important part
Oh, there, yeah. I was gonna say,
every day.
anything else, I don't like to know.
Not being in someone's face about it, but making sure that you're giving the cues so that if they want to reach out to you, they know that you're going to be open and receptive to helping them, find their own.
So, funny thing about, we do the same prayer. Bless us, O Lord, these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy Amen. So, we've been married 26 years. Her father passed away 4.5 years ago. In fact, he died on my 5th birthday also. I remember when he died. But he'd be at a family event, and her dad, Bob Ringhart, is a great guy. And we would always hold hands. Bless us, O Lord, these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy Christ. Amen. And you're ready. And may the souls, and this was her dad. He's about your size. He's a big guy. And may the souls of the faithfully departed to mercy God rest in heaven. Jesus, I just want to eat. Amen. And it was really cute. So he passed away June 27th of 2011. And the very next meal, by the way, we prayed home after before every meal too. But the very next meal was our youngest. So Gabe would have been 11 at the time. 11 or 12, I can't remember. But he was the one that was right. Because we never did that before her father passed. We did it at big family events, but not at home. And then I thought, oh my God, you can't not do it. He's now a faithful departed. We feel like it's really deal. And then, like she said, we added the Francis. So, hey, the next thing, no more questions really, although I will ask your input. But I was just listing everyday activities, because that's what I said, is how do you live your faith in your everyday life? Work, sleep, play, eat, school or study, exercise, reading, driving, walking, partying, entertaining. I guess the difference is whether you're at somebody's place or you're entertaining. Cooking, cleaning, housework, yard work, tweeting and texting. I don't have a Twitter account either, alright, so you're going to have to accept that. Studying, TV and movies. And, you don't have to answer, just think about it. Do you do any of these things differently because of your faith? And we already talked about the way we do dinner might be different than if we weren't Christians, because we always pray.
We pray before breakfast. If our kids have friends over, we grab their hands and they, are included in the prayer as well.
It was cute. So Ms. Rabbit's a colleague of ours, she's a young gal, she's from Nigeria, so her family's all thousands of miles. We had her over for dinner. We've had her over a couple times. So the last time I said, you know, do you want to say it must be grace or must be prayer? Because, you know, I think she comes over here, like, oh no, you guys go ahead. But, it was just kind of nice. I wanted to give her the opportunity, and she knows that we
It
pray
got a
for
little bit
her.
out of control.
So,
You guys left.
we're not, again, you don't have to give answers, but just think about things. What about your life? And how you live it signals to others that you have faith. Think about
Ellie
that.
tried to sing, and it was hideous.
And then kind of related, how do
Yeah, she
others
got,
know?
they were just being
that you
silly.
are a
I mean,
Christian?
no one was.
And then again, public prayers.
Right? But I think the karaoke.
By the way, if you were
I was
Muslim,
gonna show you
I have to
guys
say,
right when you showed up.
I admire a lot about the Muslim faith. They're very visible about it. You see a lot of that's right.
You'll never
Right
see
away,
it.
you know, that's a person of faith. You know?
It's very apparent if you're female.
Right. You know,
It's not
and,
always so apparent.
I know, but
Next day, late.
you're wearing a cross. No,
No, and
you're
you
wearing
guys
a
were
cross,
there.
and Kyle's got
You were there pretty
here.
early. I don't think you got home.
But just think about those things. So,
Totally ready to
I wanted to
text
get
me
to
if
some
we
of
were
what
dead.
we do, because I've been asked a lot of questions, but we're also supposed to talk about what are the
Yeah,
Christians
he's like, are you guys alive?
But how I think we live our life, our faith in our everyday life.
Trying to pull
But now, by the way, a lot of this church ministry, so I started thinking about it and what days they have back. So we go to mass on Saturday or Sunday. By the way, we're also greeters, and she's in welcome ministry. Well, that's Saturday and Sunday.
She's dying for red though, and she looks
I'm
great.
involved in men's ministry, so I've been meeting on Tuesdays to plan for the retreat. We do the soup kitchen, not every Sunday, we're on a rotation. We do about four,
Okay,
that's
so I think
Sunday
she's pretty
evening.
or blonde.
And that's something that we've actually brought our kids into.
That's pretty.
We wanted them
Well, you can't
to be
tell by
involved
this, that's anything and all stuff.
together. You kind of as greeters.
But she might have lost weight since.
As greeters, we do that as an entire
Since she's
family.
bigger,
It's not just my,
attractive.
well, I just think it's important. It's not just my
Right.
idea. Our kids participate in those ministries.
So she's bigger before the divorce.
So, I haven't done it in the last year, but for many years, we did Little Rock Scripture Study, that has their own Wednesdays.
And our
And
CIA, I've done that, that's also on my sponsor.
that would be Thursdays, and we're currently every Thursday doing our latest sponsor. So, and it's funny, I gotta tell you, growing up, used to go to Sunday, used to go to United Church of Christ, it wasn't mass, it was just across the street service. I used to think, I'm kind of a holy roller, I goes to church more than once a week. You know, I thought, wow, you're kind of out there.
And now we live in walking distance of the church.
Which is one of the big reasons we bought the house.
And we're the church one.
So just some other things, just in our everyday, if you come visit the Kirsch house and you walk in the front door, you have to be blind not to know we're Christians, because that's our crosswalk. Not everybody has a crosswalk. We have another friend I can think of, Deb Rose, I don't know if you know. Does she have one of them? She has in the old house. But, so right as you're coming in the front door, you just see a bunch of crosses.
And they're all different kinds. I've got some from Ireland.
Wow, that's nice right there.
One from the back, one from the back.
And they're cool. They're cool crosses.
So I do this a lot. I don't know how much Rebecca does, but I thank God all the time. And I thought about, when do I thank God? I'm a bike rider. Love to ride a bike.
Big difference.
It's easy on all of these, but it's still good exercise. And like 2 weeks ago, we had that really warm day. By the way, I'm always thanking God for the weather. It was 58 degrees. I did a 31-mile bike ride. I'm thankful that 54, I'm still healthy enough to do that. I'm just thankful for the beautiful countryside. Because, by the way, I went to grad school on the East Coast. You're either one of the coast. You can't imagine why anybody would want to live here. I don't know, has anybody lived on the East or West Coast?
They call us flyovers.
We're the flyover states. I don't know if you've heard that phrase. All you do is fly over. You would never stop for a reason. But I think it's beautiful. We rode our bikes from our house with the roses. I mentioned the roses a few times. Good friends out to 453. If you want hills, go that way. If you want flat bike riding, you go that way, right? 450, so it's winery. And just on the ride home, it was in the summer. I remember saying to them, I said, you know, a lot of people would find this, boring. But I said, it's beautiful. It's cornfields. But there was a breeze, and it was getting later in the summer, still daylight, but later in the evening. But I thank God all the time. Thank Him for bike rides. I thank Him for a pretty day. Please.
Oh my.
Takeoffs and landings. So I travel all the time. And at every takeoff, I do prayer, and whenever we land, I thank God that I got to do it. It really is, because, you know, there's so much you hear on the news, and so many things that can happen, so I just always give.
Last year was the safest year in aviation history.
No, I'm
We
not saying
had
it's
4
not.
plane crashes. It was like 1 for every 3.8
on this old plane
Yeah.
from Delhi to Pune, and I was on, you think
Yeah.
I can talk to me?
Thank Gandhi. Everybody. Hey, I've got, okay, I built a big tree house years ago. Gabe was, our youngest was going young enough. And it's like a big tree house.
Because I think they
It's
said.
an MIT.
It was sized that 3 people can sleep in it. It's big enough you can string a hammock from corner to corner. Anyway, but I thank God I went there because it is great. I go there to read. And it's just got 6 windows. There's no glass. They just frame the open squares. But the breeze comes out. So I just do it all the time. And then
There was one day that she wanted to do it.
We do, we done Acadia, and we done
So
some,
she's the one
you know,
that was
places in Utah, and, somehow being up at a higher elevation, I don't know what it is about it, but I feel this
I
kind of
lost her
closeness
husband
to
when I
God.
was a little bit.
I'm just jumping in.
oh, that's
And
good.
then.
I thank God for my wife.
Seen it
Even
online and knew her there.
No, I
So
didn't.
I said, hey, I'm gonna send her.
And my kids and the dog.
Yeah.
I never thank God
So
for
then
sure.
she got a hold
But I
of
actually
He
really like
takes
that.
care of
I
them.
really like
He's
them.
gonna take care of
They
them.
lived 15 years, and our daughter got them like her senior year in high school.
do anything.
It was taking care of them.
Thankfully for us, another thing I thank God.
I'm gonna
is
play,
our daughter
I'll play it,
college pool in a year.
I'll play it cool.
So, yeah.
I want to be frank, that's a $30,000 thing.
Yes, that's a big
Let's
thing.
be clear.
But it's also neat, at some point, they should apply to get with her sooner rather
She
than.
got to have a place. We can keep mine. Huh?
We did,
By the way, they actually can.
they
They
can,
keep them
ours have
out.
not escaped, but they can, they're pretty, if you open up the door, they're.
So, just in your everyday life, some other stuff I do, I talk about. I do all the time. You can call it prayer, you call it talking to God. It's not a big difference. Do it a lot when I'm driving, it's just me in the car. I do it when I'm walking the dog. I do it, on the bike ride, when I'm thinking. Sometimes I have discussion. I literally talk about what's bothering me. We pray every meal, we already said that. I already mentioned talking about your favorite verses. Just, to me, it should be just as natural as talking about a football game or last night's John Oliver. Is anybody else a John Oliver fan? Oh my gosh, nobody? You are, good, okay. He's a British comedian, he's on HBO.
I don't like the language, I'll be honest.
He's on HBO on Sunday nights. We have 2 teenage boys, so he's funny.
That would be 161.
Oh my gosh, when I think God, I had one I wrote down, I thought this is horrible, but I have to say, if I see somebody, who's like, they say, I thank God, I said, you know what, thanks.
And they might have done that last year.
And I think that's something so easy to take for granted, because it looks like we're all in
She's
good
gonna
here.
say, this is what
And just the ability to get around. I mean, Brenda's college we work with wonderfully, and her mobility is terrible. And, help her whenever I can, but I tell you what, it makes me that much more.
I looked at the photos, so I need to get adjusted.
Another way, just living your life, living your faith, is helping others. And think about, what do you do because you're a Christian? You're different from other people. Most people just simply do it. Like, most people will help another person, if they have the opportunity. Sometimes it's money, they don't have the money, I'm not asking anybody to help. We're actually fortunate, we both have good professional jobs, so sometimes we help with the money. We help out with St. Anne and Hades. St. Anne's and Hades, as much as we can.
But we think teaching is way out of line. Right.
Which,
So that we feel really strongly about that.
what I'm
We need to
thinking
connect
is
the
if
dots.
they.
We have paid for 3 people down there to do teaching.
Right, well, that's what, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying
Our
to
health
get, they're
committee has
probably
been around,
hoping on the very
sponsoring
least to
teachers,
get less than
because we think it's a way to be out.
Like
The
if
college
they're
students.
199.
By the way, we should have sent our kids to
Right,
Haiti. It's
that's
like,
right.
it's
So that's
kids,
it. They go
kids,
down.
wait a minute, it's 1/30
Because if
of the
they're
cost of
going
junior
to
year here in the States. So, there you go.
only pay one
And, we heard a really sad story. The Harpenows, they run, the Friends of Nature. And there were 5 siblings. Mom and Dad both died of AIDS.
things like that.
They had a grandmother
The
who wanted to
higher
take care of
price
them.
items.
But she didn't have a place. So kids were kind of split up, and the Harpenows said, that's a bad situation for these kids. They kind of get taken advantage of. And their ages were 5 to 14. I thought, oh my God, you lost your parents. You're a little kid, and you're not even around your siblings. So, and they said, we're halfway to what it takes. By the way, it was not much to build a pretty darn nice house. It's a cinder block house in concrete. It was quite a proper house. Not like you see here, she goes, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
But, no, we're fortunate because, they said, can you help this much? And we said, well, just we'll cover the rest, just get it going.
right.
And we didn't have to, other people.
Thank you so much.
But, look, not everybody's got the same executive character. I'm not asking you to do that. But it's an easy, frankly, easy way for us.
This is the head I use.
And I think we challenge each other on it. Sometimes one of us will go.
That's actually funny.
Yeah, one of us will go.
Good to know.
Oh, I was gonna get this much.
My hand is
I was
left-handed.
gonna get this much, and then the next thing you know, we both.
We always go with the higher
We
one.
always
It
go with
is
the
fun.
It's fun.
It's a good cause, but it's a good cause, and, well, I was gonna give my, you can have that, sure.
So it's kind of funny how sometimes it works out.
And I'll throw out a thought, and hopefully this doesn't sound too bad. We have a faith, we have a Christian faith, and that kind of guides us. We have a lot of friends that say, I really don't practice any religion, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I respect that, and that's great. But I always think, it's really easy to be spiritual. We have faith. I mean, there's a structure to it, and I just think, so if you're spiritual, you don't have faith, which, by the way, promotes helping others and giving to good causes. Do you do that? How do you do that? It's a personal question. I would never ask it. Reading the Bible. Again,
We've
just
both been active in scripture study for quite some time.
the other thing, although I may sound like a Neanderthal, you can go to if you Google daily mass readings, the first thing that comes up is the U.S. Conference of Bishops, and you hit that, and the daily mass readings come up, and if you scroll down a little bit, you can sign up to have your daily mass reading emailed to you. I don't read it every day, but I gotta tell you, there's a lot of days when I'm checking my email. You hit it, you read it, and it's a simple way to make it part of your everyday life. And I think a lot of us do this, but I hope as Christians we greet everyone with love, and Christ is in there. Now we're probably hardwired. You can tell we're not shy, we're not introverts. But beyond just being a friendly person, and by the way, I love that you said we're a friendly person, but I hope as Christians we go out of our way. Whenever we meet anybody, greet them. I don't care if they seem a little grubby. I don't care if there's something different about them compared to you. And that makes it really easy for me. I just treat everybody the same. I absolutely do. And I think it's a way to live your life. So those are the thoughts I had written down. Is there more that you have that we haven't covered?
Well, I just had a few things that I said, how do you take advantage of opportunities, to live your faith every day? And so I just had a few things. I already talked about the fact that we pray as a family. I pray that I'm not with my family. My coworkers know I'm going to pray before we start. Sometimes I'll be starting to pray and they've started the meeting because we do a lot of lunch meetings. I'm sorry, we're not just praying, And it's never negative. It's like, oh, that's right, we're just praying. And it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I'm your boss. But when you enter,
We never fired anybody for swearing to me.
no, not yet, but I'm thinking about it. But when you integrate your faith into what you do, like I said, I did a lot of speaking. But I was literally, so my boss is Jewish, I'm Catholic, and at my one-on-one 2 weeks ago, we were talking about our faith. Right there, at the Cummins Corporate Office Building in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I think most people would think, ooh, nobody does that, but we were doing it. And, it was very comfortable for me, and you know what, it was very comfortable for Maria too. And it felt good to me that she feels that she can share her faith with me, and I can share my faith with her. Because, it's part of that being authentic. Like I said, she knows that that's really important. And two more different people you would never meet in this
political
world.
views.
Politically, we are like this.
You don't have to guess which one to pick.
Yeah. But, politically we're very different. But yet here we were, at a work one-on-one, and we're both discussing our faith, which I thought was really nice that I could be that comfortable. Another thing that I think is really important, when you're kind of living your faith, don't just surround yourself with Catholics. On our drive home today, there were 4 of us in the car, 3 Christians and 1 Muslim, on our drive back from Nashville. And, we were talking to Muhammad about how does it feel right now, to be a Muslim? How hard must that be right now? Because, people judge you, on everything. His wife, he works at Target. And of course his wife, wears the full garb. And he said, it's so funny, he said in Indiana, and he's lived in lots of places in the world, he said, in Indiana, people are so nice. And he said, people always want to say something nice to her. He said, but sometimes the things they say are kind of weird. He said, we both have grown to know that people don't mean anything by it. So they'll go, oh my gosh, you're so nice, you're not all like those terrorists.
That's what Hoosier tend to be nice.
But his point is, all these people want to do is they want to be nice. And they want to acknowledge that I don't think anything about you because you're Muslim. But they just don't, they're very awkward about saying it. But I think the more you spend time with people in other faiths, and they see you living your faith, let's face it, non-practicing Catholics are the second largest faith in the world. I think in the world, or at least in the U.S. So someone has probably run up against a Catholic who really wasn't all that nice of a person. And so not everyone has a positive view of Catholics. And so I view that as part of my mission. In addition, to living my faith and, making sure that I do that is also to make sure that people know, the Catholic faith is a really strong faith. It's rooted in really solid principles. And if you know someone who's not a very nice person or not a very nice Catholic, they probably aren't living their faith. So I feel it's a little bit of my mission to make sure people know, that Catholics are actually pretty nice, pretty cool people, pretty nice people. So, and one way to do that is if you don't surround yourself with Catholics, it's your opportunity to also evangelize to people who aren't Catholic. I talked about being authentic. Okay, I talked about being authentic. One thing that's really important to me is not to judge people. That guy's going to do that. That's not our job here. And the other thing is, faith should not be a barrier to living your life. It should be a guide for how you live your life. And so I'll just kind of leave it.
You guys, any questions or comments? Anybody want to share how they live their faith? We already heard. I like that is Mary, right?
It's a miraculous man, yeah.
Yep.
For me, I am thankful in the morning because I always tell myself that I would not have been away. It could have happened that I went to sleep and that's it. So the fact that I am able to open my eyes and breathe, okay, another day.
So you thank God every day for waking up. The gift of another day.
Even when I'm upset with him, I think
That's awesome.
That's cool.
yeah, so that's a ritual that I just do naturally every morning. Because I know that we are all here temporarily and anybody can be gone at any time.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
It's been too true lately. I've had too many friends close to my age passing away. Ethan, you arrived late. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's a way? By the way, you the one that came from Seaman?
Yeah, I was down in Seaman.
Okay, no worries. What's a way that you live your faith every day in your everyday life?
Is that mine? No, I need to go. Well, I try my best to say the rosary every day.
Oh, good for
Oh,
you.
wow.
That's great.
That's a great way to center yourself.
Yeah. So, either before bed or like in the middle of the day before lunch or something.
Good.
Technicians and I and Bob Warren, who goes to church as well. We all go to breakfast and we just started 6 months ago. So this is like the first time we've gone on it.
Oh,
Go to breakfast because we go on Fridays
Yeah.
every week. And so Bob and I were talking about how we can't have meetings. We always share bakes like a side order thing every Friday. Everything. And so we're like, the technicians were like, so why can't we meet? So we were like, I don't know. So then like last Friday they're like, don't order bacon. Like they're all trying to help us remember not to eat meat on Friday, which was really cute.
yeah, it's just a little way of ministering, right? Evangelizing.
Any little physical manifestation is a great way to open up. Go ahead, what about Facebook? I've heard that.
I was
are some ways you live your faith in your everyday life?
Take a time out to say a prayer when people on the road or at work are annoying.
Does that ever feel uncomfortable?
Extremely.
Does it? It used to be uncomfortable for me, it's not anymore, but there.
It gets easier as you get older.
Yeah, but for the first few times I did it in front of certain people, it was pretty uncomfortable.
Anybody else?
But kudos for doing that.
Like my freshman year of college, I lived away from home. And I lived with someone who wasn't Catholic. And so like I had like my Mary statue and I had her rosary and I had a cross and she was just like, oh, okay. And my roommate told them didn't leave God at all. And she was just like, do whatever you want to do, girl. And like I learned from that because she didn't judge me for it. She was like, you believe in God is what you have to do to get through your life, up to every day, to get through it. And she's like, it does because I don't choose to do this, doesn't mean that doesn't work for someone else. And I'm not gonna that. And so since then I tried to live that philosophy. So like so now religion, they already got religion because it helps them in their life.
All right, this cluster of four, and Nick, but this cluster of four. Anything you want? And by the way, you can ask us a question. This is technically questions and answers, isn't it, Alex?
Life's not Catholic.
You don't have to be Catholic. Do you have a faith part?
Okay.
And he gets roped into a lot of stuff. He's very humble about all the stuff.
So how does it feel being out? Do we make you feel comfortable or do we make you feel uncomfortable? Good.
I talk about religion a lot with my seventh graders because I'm part of our seminary. We talk about religion.
I would think so, yeah. Because it has such an impact on how, on the world.
Right. I mean, our focus is on Eastern Sin, which is like all the major monotheistic religions.
Okay.
Like when you're talking about how people from Indiana view Muslims, like that's something that I really work with them a lot.
Good.
And like I showed them like this picture that I just pulled up like a generic picture that was diversity. And I would ask them like which of these people could be Muslim. And in every class I could get someone they all could be Muslim. So religion's not a race. It's
Yes.
yes, that's the point. So,
Yeah, no, that's good.
There's only a couple John Oliver fans, but all of the Syrian refugees unfortunately having to flee their country because of the war. They're coming to Europe. So it was late last year. It's still a big problem. It was in the news, and he quoted one of the government leaders from Croatia that said something about we really couldn't take any Muslims. We don't have any mosques. And John Oliver said, as if it's something that just naturally pops up out of the ground. You can build them. It's a religion. It's not a characteristic of the country or your birth. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Just with that and kind of referring back to something else that I stated before, I don't always, being Catholic isn't one of the first things that comes to mind. I don't like, it's not my classify myself. Hey, Allie, but like my grandpa's very involved in the church, as well as the grandparents are, but then my parents weren't practicing and like my mom was come back to
Great.
so it's like I chose to go through first communion confirmation at a later age, and I went to Catholic high school just because it happened to be the best high school in our area at the time. But we grew up, or I spent a lot of my elementary days in Houston, and so I had friends from all over the world, and it just never, it's just how it was. But being back in Columbus and like going to church, I'm like, oh, all these people that come in to the shop are Catholic because I see it at church. So it's just kind of cool seeing how it connects.
I mean, it's like one of the really fortunate things that living in this coming here. We do meet people from all over the world,
Absolutely.
different nationalities, different races, cultures, different religions, and it's been, I think, one of the things that I love, and I still try to stay in this area.
Well, we always, our boys will have people over the house and, one day I walked down to the basement and I thought, my gosh, we have a little mini United Nations there. We had a Taiwanese boy, a Pakistani boy, an Indian boy, someone from Sweden who was part of a joint venture, and then gay. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can this be in this, little town? But, our son's very best friend is Muslim. And, it's not a barrier for them at all. And I just think, I think it's great. I think it's really great. And I think they're both very, Gabe has learned a lot about the Muslim faith, and he'll share things with us that are haram, and so I now know that, what's not allowed. And, he's sharing his faith with him. And so I really think it's kind of cool that they're comfortable, that he's comfortable doing that, and his friend is comfortable doing that.
That's kind of all we had, unless anybody's got anything they want to talk about. Question?
You want a really hard question.
Not a hard question. Thanks, Alan. Thanks for having me. Don't know if it was interesting or not.
You do this all the time. What would you like to hear more of in the future?
Oh, gosh. I think as young adults, we're all looking for opportunities. I think it's easier when people plan opportunities and you get invited to them. I don't think, I myself don't take enough initiative. It's easy to jump on things. So, I don't know. I just think it's nice. Pray for young adults to take more initiative in the church. Just to kind of create our own opportunities to reach out.
I think this is a great ministry. It's
Yeah.
theology on
I
tap.
love you all.
But it is really great. It's a great ministry because when I'm trying to think back to I never missed church in college. And I was like one of the few people that brought my friends with me.
My attendance rate was about 20%.
Yeah. Well, I was the one that was bringing my friends with me to church and kind of getting them excited about church. But I would say sometimes I'm not sure if my boys would go if I, didn't encourage them. So I think you're right. Trying to making things fun, making things interesting is really, really important.
It's an interesting point about young people taking the initiative. So I grew up in a Protestant Faith United Church of Christ. And it was funny, I started working in high school at McDonald's, and I think I would literally throw $2 on the plate. Now, it was in the 1970s, but still. And I actually had a full-time job, probably for a couple of years before it kind of just clicked with me. I said, you're not a kid anymore. You need to contribute your share. And it was, by the way, it was a small church, maybe 180 people total. I realized you just got to be involved. You can't be just an attendee. So I became a Sunday school teacher for the junior high group. When those kids moved up, I became the high school youth group leader, which actually was with me as the youth group leader. But yeah, and we're a really big parish at St. Pete, so it feels like there's lots of people who do that stuff. But just at some point, and I'm not picking on anybody, just saying, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm one of the adults here, and I will say this, in fairness, once they're older and retired, they've got more time for it, all right? As a guy still working, still having kids at home.
Younger for kids and older makes work.
But I do sometimes, as somebody who still have kids at home, 2 high schoolers, and they're self-sufficient and working full-time, I think, really? You guys can't raise your hand? Like, a guy named Joe Kinderman has always done the breakfast for the men's ministry breakfast. I mean, he just does it all the time, But when Joe's gone, we do a sub. And it's hilarious. It's like 3 or 4 of us work, everybody else is retired. And I said, all right, I'll do it. And I think, what's up with you guys? But anyway,
So for us, it's really important to be active. So I would encourage you, if you're not active in the church, there's some great ministries that are actually fun. Like catechist. That was the first thing. That was the very first thing I did. I did first communion. I was catechist for first communion. And there is not a more special year than helping kids through their first communion. And I just love that. And I did that while we had very young kids, and then it became kind of impossible, for me to keep doing that. And I did some other things, but having someone younger that they can I was just gonna say having someone younger that they can relate to actually is nice.
So something that I noticed that young people don't have here in Catholic is friendship. Like, I don't know, probably people have been, people who are in Columbus have been in Columbus for a long time.
Yes,
They just
yes.
live there. But when new people come in, it is really hard to connect. I don't know why, but it is really, really hard to connect with each other because down. But,
Even professionals, that's a problem.
yeah. So, but back home, you know, there's just some excitement that they will friend you, they will go to your place, they will invite you to their place.
So when should
you know,
we come
so you
over?
create- so you create-
Oh, if you're serving beer, I'm coming. What do you want to sell?
So you create some friendship. So when there's something going on, people are more willing to go because, you know, they're looking
Sure.
for that friendship.
Exactly, they're looking to make those connections.
You see, so it has to, that's the only thing that I see that is missing a lot in the US. And I live in different places in the US. It is not exciting to be a young Catholic adult in the US.
That's not right, and that's too bad. No,
So do you have everybody's names?
Well,
We
I
can have the whole
also
group, we're gonna have the whole group over at our house.
feel, well, I also,
there we go.
like, I do
Sure.
that too, because I think it's too, is like our generation, like our generations, we're a lot more political, and like a lot of people, like, oh, we have church believe in this, and some people believe in that, but I don't believe in that. And we have a lot of the older generations who have to believe in that, that's our faith, that's, and so a lot of people are turned away from it. And that's why they don't want to practice it, they don't believe anymore. Because they've had people who are older saying, well, we're doing it wrong, why are you doing it wrong? I've been fortunate in my life where like, I've had my mom working in the church. And like when I made my confirmation, my mom and dad had no expectations of making it. The only rule we had to go to class. And we had to pay for it ourselves. Because that was us becoming faith, solid in our faith. And like the day I made my confirmation, my parents like kept bugging me.